Alright folks, welcome back. Happy 2021. Now patch 1.11.1 is now on the common test server, and as with all new patches, there are new hidden vehicles added to the main directory files, but they are not available for the public yet, or ever. So let's take a sneak peek, because that's what we usually do on the channel. So this time around, we have the Charlemagne, a premium tier 8 British heavy. It's like a British version of a T-34, if you will. Slightly faster, but guns worse, I guess. You have a rapid firing Kunze Panzer 07RH, so this is a premium tier 8 German medium, and a special tier 9 medium for the German called the Kunze Panzer, with the siege capability like the S-tanks for the Swedes. So it's the first turreted siege mode, I guess, but that's kind of interesting. So the Charlemagne is more or less like a heavy medium. It's based off of the Centurion chassis a little bit, has a pike shape front, but the turret kinda looks like a standard B / Conqueror-ish of a turret design, so kinda different from the Centurion turrets, if you will, but it is a premium, will make more crew XP and credits. So this thing is more or less classified as a heavy, even though in real life it's more or less a medium designed to counter IS-3s. But yeah, distinctive feature was a gun with perfect stabilization and low shell velocity. Yeah, that's not happening. It has garbage accuracy and long aim time, low DPM, and somewhat average penetration. Alpha is good, but it takes way too long to reload. It takes about 15 seconds with a rammer. That is horrendous. The DPM suck on this thing. Crew of 4 fits all the Carnarvons and Centurions. Well, then again, it's a heavy, or the Conquerors and stuff, but yeah, the actual stats of this tank's gun is not great. 220mm of pen is alright for a medium, but the T-34 has the penetration advantage over this vehicle, and the accuracy is also not that bad. It's 0.34, whereas this tank has 0.42 with 100% crew. Yeah, that's like a IS-3's gun, or even worse, that's like a IS-2's gun, or IS-1 at tier 7 with the D25T. That is really bad. Same goes with the aim time, 3.36. So you'll feel right at home if you play the Soviets quite a lot. But the reload time is also way too goddamn long. 15 seconds, that is horrendous. Traverse is relatively quick for a heavy-ish, but yeah, the DPM is just so goddamn bad. Let's take a look at the HP and survivability of the armor. So 1500 health, average for heavy at tier 8, but it has 130 at the front for the hull and 170 at the front for the turret, but the turret is rounded. Side armor is 70-ish average for American / British heavy tanks, so side armor is non-existent. You do have side skirts, but side skirting with these vehicles are not as good as the Germans or the Russians. But let's take the quick look at the armor profile. So pike shape hull front, lower plate is actually thicker than the upper plate. Upper plate is 130, lower plate is 168. So shooting at the lower plate is a bad idea. So same goes with the IS-3. You shoot the IS-3 at the pike, not the lower plate. It's sloped a lot backwards, as well as thick. So don't shoot the lower plate, shoot the upper plate. Ooh, 270-ish. Oh, upper plate is about 200 or so. You will sometimes bounce with your own gun shooting at the upper plate, so it cannot even penetrate itself sometimes. So, but the advantage with the ally vehicles is that they have good gun depression, and you should utilize that to go hull down. Same with the turret and stuff. Turret is 170 at some parts or 150 at the cheeks. 130 at the top. Huh. It is rounded, so you will get about 200 millimeters effective on the cheeks, but the mantlet is thick. Mantlet is 254 for the mantlet with 140 millimeters of armor underneath, so you will not get through the mantlet, but you do have a commander cupola at the top, which is kind of prominent, and it's only 100 millimeters effective. So same goes with the T-34. You do have a weak spot, but this weak spot seems a little bit bigger than a T-34 or a Patriot Jumbo Pershing, if you will. So gold shell will break the cheeks of this turret, and gold shell will likely jam underneath the turret's mantlet into the top of the hull. So that's likely where the driver sits. But side armor is 25 at some parts. Oh, that's the tracks. So side armor 6mm of side skirts with 70mm underneath, but side skirting with allied vehicles are always not that great. So yeah, armor wise it's okay-ish if you're hull down, but I'm worried about the gun. The performance of the gun means you should not just constantly take hits and cannot fight back. But it is quite fast. 16.7 horsepower per ton ratio with a 750 horsepower engine moving 45 tons. You could ram a few vehicles, but top speed of 35, reverse of 15, you're not going anywhere fast unless you're using turbocharger, but I think you're likely using vents, maybe enhanced gun lane drive or stabilizers, vertical stabilizers, or even the improved gunner sights to help with the accuracy, but god, the gun's accuracy is not great. And likely rammer, but you don't need, well technically I would prefer you have rammer, but the DPM just, everything is so bad about the gun. But it does turn pretty quick for a heavy-ish. Oh, it's not a medium, it's like a fat medium. Concealment, a heavy tank, not great, but not the worst. And 380 meters of view range, so still not that great. I will give it a 7. Maybe 6.5. A 7 is average, so 7. It is helped out by the mobility of the vehicle, but the gun's just so goddamn bad. And the view range is not that great as well, but then again it's a heavy, so maybe you could get to key spots and use the hull armor and the turret armor, but you're not fighting back, so you need a few teammates with you, because that DPM is trash. So you'll get through out, but hey, sometimes they'll miss and they'll bounce. I mean, if the upper plate was about 230 or 220, this might be a lot more viable, but the upper plate is just the same as an IS-3, so you'll get pinned by tier A guns, let alone tier 9s or tier 10s. So I don't think this is a decent enough of a crew trainer when you already have the Carnarvon Action X, which is a great British heavy tank, or premium British. I'm clicking on Germans. But I play mine a lot, and I can tell you, it's the same way you play with the Carnarvon, the same way you play with the Conquerors. This thing is pretty good. It is a rapid firing gun, but take a look at the DPM. It has about 1,000 more DPM, and a lot better accuracy, a lot quicker aim time, just as much gun depression, and better penetration as well. So yeah, you could afford to have a rapid firing gun if you have the armor, but I'm wondering how much armor. The Carnarvon Action X usually has pretty decent armor as well. Upper plate 200, lower plate is obviously the weak spot, but it is the Action X turret, so pretty bouncy other than the slightly top of the gun. It doesn't have a mantlet, but it is well sloped. It does have a few side skirts or space armor covering the sides. It does have a commander cupola. It's slightly smaller, I think, compared to the Charlemagne. But yeah, I take this turret over the other turret because you cannot jam shells and bounce it into the hull front. So Yeah, this thing is a lot better, in my opinion, than the Charlemagne. And it's just as fast, almost. So, engine power is still pretty good. And it weighs more than the Charlemagne. So, I don't know. I might take this thing over the... Yeah, I'll probably take this thing over the Charlemagne. Charlemagne feels like a T-34. Slightly worse. Because of this stupid gun handling. Alright, on to the Kunze Panzer 07RH. A premium tier 8 British, or not British, German medium, I'm sorry. Kind of looks like the British Challenger at tier 7 with the weird turret design, rounded shape of a water tower, but whatever. So standard Panzer design, yada yada. Prototype, but yeah, much faster variant, a lighter tank-ish, but it is classified as a medium. So 90mm gun, crew of 4, fits all the Leopards and the E50s. E50 has a radio operator, I think. I may be wrong, but I think, yeah, radio operator. I have 5 female crews on mine, but has a 90mm with 205mm of pen, so slightly below average. 200 alpha, rapid firing gun, reloads every 5.27 seconds, so about 5 seconds with a rammer. 9 degrees gun depression, very quick traverse for the gun. Quick aim time, okay-ish accuracy, 0.35. So Germans, I would expect about 0.33, but and 2,276 DPM. So high DPM, not as high as you would expect from a rapid firing gun, but if this thing has like 2,500 DPM, I would think this is completely viable with the low alpha, but that may be pushing too much. But then again, you could put rammers and that would probably jam that up to 2,500. So, I still tend to prefer the Leopard kind of playstyle, where you have high alpha, accurate gun, and you snipe across the map. So that way, you don't expose yourself to light tanks by constantly firing your gun and losing your concealment bonus every time. So, but then again, this is more of a support medium, so you fight alongside a medium with more armor, like a Super Pershing, where the Super Pershing takes a hit and you flick around and shoot the tracks off and perma-track all the time. So the gun's decent, other than the alpha and some of the penetration. Penetration could be a little bit better in terms of standard shell. Otherwise, you could be a scum and spam all the gold shells in the world, but we don't want to talk about gold shells. They're not that fun to talk about. So armor-wise, my phone's going off. Armor-wise, no armor whatsoever. Yeah, it's a rounded water tower of an armor design. 80mm at the front, 115 at the front for the hull. That's not that much armor. It has a lot of health, well, above average health for a medium though. So 1350 is somewhat chunky, but holy crap. No armor whatsoever. And sometimes you get penetrated by high explosives, and that would suck. Well, then again, 80mm is kind of a breakpoint for high explosive shells. Yeah, still, it has no armor whatsoever. 75 for the sides, 60 for the turret sides. Yep, big old artillery target. Very big artillery target. Well, whoops. Mobility wise, it is relatively quick. 65 km/h top speed, 25 reverse, quick to turn. Only weighs about 30 tons, but horsepower per ton ratio is 23.33. That's actually quite good. So this thing is very quick. If you put a turbocharger, and it could go up to like 70-ish km/h top speed, which is fairly fast. But I would consider this thing more of a light tank-ish of a playstyle. Concealment is slightly above average for medium, but not that good-ish. It's not 17 or about 20-ish, so you want to aim for about 17 or 20. View range 380. I hate the 380s for mediums. Mediums usually have about 390, or at some point 400. if they're good, but 380 is like average. 370 is starting to get below average into the Russian territory, and otherwise it's just blah into oblivion. So likely loadout in terms of equipment is a turbocharger to make it go even faster, optics to help you spot for yourself, and I don't think rammer will be that big of an improvement for the gun, but it does make it fire a lot faster, so maybe rammer. If you're saucy, you could put gunner sights instead of rammer to help out with the accuracy, because 0.35 is not that great. So it could be like turbocharger, optics, gunner sights. But then again, do what you will. It's okay accuracy. And finally, we have the Kunze Panzer at tier 9. Same with the Panzer 07RH. This thing has no armor, but it does get a special gimmick, which is the siege mode. You do, however, have to press a button and remain stationary for a little bit of a time, similar to the S-tanks, but it is a paper tank. It has a turret compared to the S-tanks, but no armor. So 105 L7A1 German version. Crew of 4 fits all the German mediums and whatever, but let's take a look at the stats. So it is a special tank. It is likely for front lines or Steel Hunter. I forgot the name for a little bit, or rank battle mode, but I don't think it's that good for ranked. I think it's more like a frontline-ish of a vehicle, but this is for the non-siege mode. So non-siege mode, you have a lot of DPM, but then again, tier 9 mediums usually have very good DPM, but it is a high penetration, so that's a little bit better than the Centurion 7.1, or I would say the Leopard prototype. Leopard prototype usually have about 2,400, if I'm guessing it correctly. Give me a sec. I have the Leopard prototype, and I don't remember the DPM on that stuff. Yep. So better. I have the rammer obviously, but it's about 2,400 base. So obviously you cannot compare it to the E50. E50 doesn't have as much penetration, but it fires faster. So it does lose DPM while in siege mode. So in siege mode you'll get better accuracy, better aim time at the cost of DPM, whereas it's contradictory to actual siege vehicles like the S-tanks, because S-tanks don't lose DPM in siege mode. Alright, but traverse is not as quick for medium. It is still average for medium. You do get 15 degrees of gun depression while in siege mode, but non-siege mode accuracy and aim time is relatively bad. You could work with it. It could go down to 0.38 with a 100% crew with bursting arms and stuff, but it kind of feels like a inverse Polish medium, if you will. Polish medium, other than tier 10 doesn't have the freaking switcheroo thingy. So other than the CS63, which has the turbo mode, you have an inverse non-turbo mode, flipping back and forth. Okay, but armor wise it has no armor. 40 at the front for the hull and 63 at the front for the turret. It's even worse than the Panzer 07RH. You'll get pinned by high explosives and you'll get messed up. But then again, if you do have 15 degrees gun depression, double plate will bounce because it's 40 millimeters, so it's similar to the S-tanks, but you do have a prominent turret, and the turret is 30. You get pinned no matter what. No matter whatsoever. Health wise, average-ish. In terms of health, slightly above average. And I think that's average. No, that's average for a not armored medium. Yeah, that's all. That's whatever. Mobility wise, 65 kilometers per hour top speed, 23 in reverse, about 22 horsepower per ton ratio, only weighs about 28 tons. It takes 2 seconds to switch into siege mode, takes 2 seconds to switch out. Hull traverse is not as quick as the Panzer 07. So this thing is slightly sluggisher in terms of turning the turret or the hull, but it is mostly focused on sniping, if you will. So turbocharger will make this thing go a lot faster, obviously. And I do recommend turbocharger as well. Concealment, yeah, pretty decent for a medium, so 17-ish. But view range is 400, so that's a decent view range now. It is a siege mode type of a S tank, and I would think having some turret armor would be a lot better. So this is more like a UDES at tier 9. You do have the benefit of the turret turning around while in siege mode, but you will lose DPM. So DPM of this gun will shift down to a Centurion 7.1's level of DPM, which is, might as well just play Centurion 7.1, right? You have the turret armor, this thing doesn't. It has the speed, but might as well play with the Leopard prototype. So Leopard prototype has the speed. I have the turbocharger to help out with the speed, the optics to boost up the 400 base meters of view range. Should be 400 base. That's I forgot the actual. It should be 400 base. 400 base. Yeah, just as good. But this thing doesn't need to turn into a siege mode to use the DPM, and it has DPM too. So it actually gets better penetration as well. Slightly better alpha too. So I don't know. I mean, it's a gimmick. Well, wait, is the penetration better? 270-ish compared to 268? Close enough. It's about the same, but better alpha. I don't know. Yeah, 10 more millimeters of pen, but it might as well play with it. Yeah, this thing. Might as well play with the Leopard prototype. I don't think the gimmick of the siege mode will carry this tank. Where then again, the AE Phase 1 doesn't really have a gimmick. It's just 4 tracks to look at. It's like a M103, except a little bit longer. And 777 version number 2 is more like a flat pancake of a Russian heavy. Char Future 4 is pretty decent. So I don't know if the gimmick will save this vehicle, compare it to a Leopard 1, but somehow, if you haven't noticed, the rank battle mode reward, such as the Panzer 50T or the Concept 1B that's coming soon, these are a little bit better than the frontline counterparts, like the AE Phase 1s or the Kunze Panzer. So I would rather take this vehicle dramatically over the Kunze Panzer because it has decent enough DPM to utilize the armor and the turret and stuff. And the gun's not that bad. It's accurate, quick to aim, it's not slow, but it has a IS or IS-8 T10's upper plate with a decent enough turret. So this thing will bounce some shots. And it's relatively decent in terms of camo too. So yeah. And the Concept 1B is like a lot better AE Phase 1, right? A lot better AE Phase 1. Because it has side armor and upper plate armor and stuff. And it's just as fast. Or even faster, I think. Like 20 horsepower per ton ratio. Yeah. So Charlemagne is about a 7. Panzer 07 is like a 7.25? 7.5? Kunze Panzer is like a 7.5. These all feel average-ish. Well, the Germans feel decent enough. Like a 7.5-ish, 7-ish. The Charlemagne's gun just sucks ass. If the Charlemagne's gun is a lot better, then this will be like an 8 or so, but yeah, no comparison to the Carnarvon Action X. Well, there you go, folks. The hidden vehicles in patch 1.11.1. So if these are coming out, I'll probably do a more in-depth comparison, but that's it. That's all, folks. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.